Hi, I'm Jan Broberg, your host and fellow survivor. Welcome to Trauma Interrupted. On this show, we name the wounds that trauma and abuse leave behind. We do the work it takes to heal, and together, we find the way forward. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get to work. What if the one thing that could heal you was already something you had? Something you can't see, can't buy, can't lose. But most of us spend our whole lives running from it. My guest today is Sonny Von Cleveland. He's an author, a speaker, an advocate, and Sonny spent his childhood being abused by multiple men. Accumulated 12 felonies by the age of 16 years old, did 18 years in prison. And he's someone who knows what it's like to carry decades of abuse and to be raped the first week that he was in prison at age 16. And then he came out of all of that with a message that really could change everything for you. Sonny talks about our voice, about this as a healing mechanism, about comparative trauma syndrome, where we dismiss our own pain because we think someone else had it worse than we did. And he talks about this moment in solitary confinement where this Muslim man he'd never have spoken to on the outside looked at him through a cell window and changed his life. And about why the children being exploited right now in your city, your neighborhood, your home, why we need to stop scrolling and start acting. Just a warning that this conversation is very real, very honest, very raw, exactly what Trauma Interrupted was built for. So here's Sonny. Let's get to work. Hello, everybody out there. Today in our studio, I have Sonny Von Cleveland. Is that how you say it correctly, Sonny?
That is correct.
Sonny Von Cleveland. Okay, Sonny is an author, a speaker, an advocate, and obviously we know that everybody who pretty much comes on this show has a story that started in childhood. And your story embodies so many things from, such severe abuse to a lot of redemption, a lot of resilience, a lot of now out there advocating for others.
It's what saved my life, right? Our voice is our healing mechanism. Those of us that have been through abuse and trauma, a lot of people spend most of their life trying to heal it with something external, right?
Yeah.
We drugs, sex, gambling, money, possessions. We try to cover it up and fill that gap that exists. But the one thing that we have been given by whatever you call God is our voice. And that the one thing that we can't see is our voice. And that one thing that we can't see is the one thing that can heal the things that we cannot see, which are those internal wounds and internal scars. And so our voice is our healing mechanism. The more that we speak about our pain and our trauma, the less it hurts. And that's called healing. It's not easy at first, right? It's very difficult. That's why we cry. That's why we shut down. That's why we go into those places of despair. But the more that we do it, it's just like any other muscle that you have. And especially if you've ever sang, if you've been a vocalist at any point, you've tried singing, your voice is a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
The more you work it, the stronger it gets. And so the more that we talk about our abuse and our pain and our trauma, the stronger you get, the more you heal, right? Like the more you lift weights, the stronger you get. The more you speak, the stronger you get. That's called healing.
Yeah.
Our voice is our healing mechanism.
And I do think that's profound because no one's ever said it that way. I've been asked 100 times, well, doesn't it just trigger you to talk about what happened over and over and over again? And I said, oh no, just the opposite. It feels better and better the more I've talked about it. That's why I know that sharing, at least with someone that will believe you, that's the hard part sometimes.
Even if they don't. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not doing it for somebody else to believe you. You're doing it for the one person out there that may still be in their suffering, and you inspire them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many things that come with it. There's shame, there's guilt, there's fear, and all of these things that you didn't ask for by being traumatized, but in some way that you didn't ask for either. Yet we still will foist all of the guilt and shame upon ourselves like we were somehow complicit in this, even if, I was abused for 9 years of my life, 3, 4 times a week, on and off most of my childhood.
Yeah.
And I didn't fight. I didn't turn around and scream and yell and put up a fight. I engaged out of survival. And that engagement was not a complicit action on my part that I'm somehow wanting to have sexual relations with adults.
Right.
It's a survival mechanism for an abused victim who is stuck in fear. We don't know what to do. So by pleasing this person, we survive.
Right.
Nobody else is hurt. We survive. We take that pain, we swallow it down. And for me, music was my release in that. I would go and put music on and I would just kind of wash it away and just kind of forget it. And it built this resilience in me that later on in life I've been able to re-tap into and know that we can survive anything. All right.
Yeah.
That no matter what happened, there's nobody. The tour that I just did shooting this documentary for Conversations of Redemption was to shine a spotlight on the fact that everybody has trauma. No matter where you are in this country, even in this world, wherever you are, you have endured some type of trauma at some point in your life. You're no different than anybody else. You are not alone.
Right.
We're all in this in the same boat, right? And so by seeing other people have the courage to put their pain and trauma on display might motivate and inspire someone else to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason that we rebranded our show and are calling it Trauma Interrupted is because that is exactly what your voice does. It interrupts the trauma that you are experiencing over and over again. If you can use your voice and start to talk about it, get it out of the hidden secretive chambers in your soul, you really can interrupt the trauma that you're experiencing, and you can mitigate it, and hopefully by expressing it, it starts to go away. Your life gets better. It really does, even as hard as it is, like you said, to first talk about it. And I thought here I'm gonna just light a candle. Okay, it's kind of for you, Sonny, and me, but
Oh,
it's really representative
thanks.
of all of our trauma survivors, as everyone is in some way or another.
In
Almost
some way, we've
somebody has
all
experienced.
endured and survived,
We
right?
have. And so this is that light, that little light. And we are about interrupting trauma in our conversations today. You've done some amazing things. And that child abuse, did it cover the gamut? Was it physical, sexual, emotional? I mean, most of the time, people who suffer 9 years of your childhood, it's a long time. Which is that your earliest memory?
So, in my book, "Hey, White Boy: Conversations of Redemption," I talk about the abuse from 4 men, from the time I was 5 until I was 10 or 11. Um, when the book went out to press, my wife and I were laying in bed together, and I called my mother to try to verify a date or a name or something. And she said, "Well, what about my boyfriend in the van? What about the old man that gave you money? What about Robbie Wheeler?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I completely blocked out 3 other men that abused me in my life." Just
Wow.
completely. So the book isn't even 100% accurate. And then she said, "Your Uncle Mike didn't start molesting you at 5. He started molesting you when you were 3."
Oh my
And
gosh.
it continued, you were being molested when you were 11 and 12 by the old man, by the boyfriend in the van, by Robbie Wheeler. And I'm like, "Oh my God." I blocked so much of this out.
Right.
And that's a natural human instinct, right?
That's
And
also
a
survival.
lot of time it's a survival mechanism. Sometimes we unconsciously block things that have happened out as a coping mechanism. And um yeah, I had to start correcting the facts here because we it's rough when you think about it, when you go back and you look, but I also believe that engaging in that trauma that you've gone through is what builds your strength and your resilience, and it gets to the point where it's like talking about the weather, right? I
Yeah.
don't bear any more shame. I don't bear any more fear. I don't do what I do for the naysayers. I just did a podcast with Johnny Red Shea, who is the underboss of the Winter Hill Gang with Whitey Bulger. in Boston.
Whoa.
And he went and did his time in prison and turned his life around. And we were doing a podcast together. And it's when we talk about my raping in prison, I was in prison the first week I was there.
Ugh.
And there's so many negative comments on there from people. Oh, I would have fought. You can't fight when there's a knife, like a sword, in your throat.
No.
There is no fighting. You don't fight.
Right.
I would have took the knife. Of course you would have.
Yeah.
We don't pay attention to the negativity because when you get to a certain level where there's no more shame, there's no more fear, there's no more, you don't bear this guilt, you realize that there's somebody on the other side that's listening to this that has been through that same thing. And they're like, oh, I'm not alone. That's who I do it for. I don't care about the people that might judge. Listen, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I'm married to the woman of my dreams. I don't need anything. I don't need someone else's approval. I don't need someone else's justifications. I don't need that. And so the great Viktor Frankl wrote the greatest line ever written by man that said, ceases to be suffering the moment you give it a purpose. Such is the meaning of sacrifice. So when we learn to take the pain that we have and we learn that suffering had a purpose, all right? We don't just go through it because God is evil and just, you do it for a purpose. There's a reason behind everything that happens because there's so many kids right now that are going through the same thing and they don't know where to turn. They don't have hope. I didn't have hope when I was a kid. There was nobody like me to come in and guide someone like me.
Right.
And so if I can fill that gap and just be that one voice of hope for one human being, it was all worth it. Right.
Yeah, and that's how I feel too. I feel the same way. It's why, as I was saying before we pushed record, that I started the podcast because I wanted to be able to share other people's stories because somewhere in that sharing, that is where someone else listening gets the hope. They get to see where we are today and why what happened to us has purpose and we've made it into purpose, and that's when the suffering stops. I love that Viktor Frankl quote. I actually use that when I go and do some public speaking. That's one of his quotes. And you think about Viktor Frankl, concentration camp. You think of, in case anybody out there doesn't know who
Read
that
it.
is.
Man's Search for Meaning. Greatest book ever written.
Yes, Man's Search for Meaning. It is truly, because it is so inspiring because everybody can relate to that kind of suffering. A lot of people who haven't experienced assault and abuse, I don't know if they can relate to it as well as you can to physical pain or physical,
Sure.
obviously a concentration camp in Nazi time was, and for someone to write a book about the meaning of life.
And what did he say? When we can no longer control our environment,
Yep.
we're challenged to control this, right? This is something they can't take away. The last of man's great choice, freedom is choice. We get to choose what we do. And I've coined this thing called comparative trauma syndrome. And I think a lot of people suffer from this. They like what you just said. Someone that hasn't been through abuse can't relate. But when you learn to drop those predispositions and say, abuse is abuse is abuse, trauma is trauma is trauma. We all at the end of it, it's all the same, right? It's all something that caused us to be uncomfortable in our life and caused us pain that we did not ask for. Those are the 3 basic foundations of trauma, right? Being uncomfortable, pain, and trauma we did not ask for from a circumstance.
Right.
And so it's all founded in the same thing. So stop comparing your trauma to somebody else's because that will make you automatically put yourself in a box where you will stuff down and feel that you're not worthy of healing because you haven't been through something on the level that this person's been through. So you invalidate your own trauma and then inhibit yourself from healing.
Yeah.
When you realize that your pain and trauma is just as valid. It's something that made you uncomfortable, caused you pain that you did not ask for. That's worthy of healing. You are worthy of that.
Yeah.
And I think once people start doing that, they really realize that depression and pharmaceutical pills and all these things, they're not necessary. You don't need them, right? This thing has more power than anything you've ever seen on this planet, even with all the AI and technology we have today. this thing is unmatched.
Yeah.
It can
The
heal
power of
whatever
your
you have
brain, the
going.
power of your ability to think and to
Yes. Yes.
put
To
those little neural
manifest.
pathways and to manifest things and to speak it out loud.
And if you don't believe me, go watch Joe Dispenza. Watch what that man is doing for people in the world. The
Mm.
mind is just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So with your story, which is raw and very powerful, all the years of abuse, and then ending up in prison for a long time at age
18 years.
16, 18 years, was it? 18 years. What happened that put you there? And then what happened when you were on the inside there? We've heard a little bit. You were the very first week, you were 16. Tell us more about that, how you got
Yeah,
there.
it's so I mean the pathway kind of starts back when I was a child. I was a
Yeah, with
convicted
the abuse.
felon when I was 7 years old. I broke into a church and was charged with a felony in 1988. And you look back and you're like, who charges a 7-year-old with a felony, much less for something so trivial? And it's more about my mother's standing with the local government. I think they were using it more as a punishment for her. So my mother was very acerbic towards government entities and would like protest in small town Michigan, right? Like
Okay.
protesting the incoming sheriff or protesting the judge. And like you didn't effectuate any change, but you did shine a big fat spotlight on our existence. And so that turned the local government against us as a family. And to
Mm.
punish my mother, let's charge the 7-year-old with the felony. And they put me on probation.
Unbelievable.
Little did they know, they didn't even think to ask a question, but this abused child that you just put on probation is now safe because I'm on probation. I'm stuck in my home. I'm in the eye of the court. I have a probation officer report to all the men that are raping me went away. So when I got off probation and all that oversight went away, here they come. And
It
it comes
just got
back. So
got
what do you
worse.
think the mind of a 7-year-old is going to develop in that moment? I'm going to get back on probation so that I'm safe again.
Yeah.
And so by time I was 16 years old, I had 12 felonies on my record, right?
Oh
And the
my gosh.
judge is like, I don't know what to do with you. And you bound me up. Not that you tried, because I've never been in juvie. I've never been sent to a detention center. I mean, I've gone to like a Eagle Village in Hershey, Michigan was like a 1 week camp, which was supposed to like rehabilitate a child or something. But this is also with just kids who come from wealthier families that can afford to send you to a fun weekend or week camp. And so
So nobody's
that didn't,
asking the questions.
yeah,
No one is asking,
yeah,
"What happened to you?" What
right.
because that's the question to ask. What's happened? What's
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah. So
And
this is just
even if you wouldn't have told, at least
yeah,
somebody asking the question would be good.
yeah. So this was just a fun trip. And
Wow.
so then he binds me over to adult court and right to prison. I had stolen a cell phone, stolen a pedal bike, broke into a house and drank some water. And I chipped my name in the wall in the county jail when they arrested us. And they charged me with a felony for that because brand new in 1997 to repaint the cell for the labor cost, the paint cost, and all of that, it was over $100. And the law, which y'all can look up in 1997, was malicious destruction of state property over $100 is a felony.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
they stacked that on there with the receiving stolen property because I had a stolen cell phone that my buddy stole, which was over $100. The stolen pedal bike that we stole out of the yard of the house that we broke into to get the water, that bike, brand new, retailed for over $100. And at that point in 97, the law was larceny over $100 as a felony. So for
Wow.
these 4 crimes, they gave me 2 to 5 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. And at 16. And
Jeez.
so when I went in that first week, I'd never been incarcerated before, never been locked up. And I'm from the country in Michigan. So to walk into this environment with concrete steel and gangsters from Detroit, from Grand Rapids, from Holland, from all these cities
Oh my gosh.
was, I mean,
Terrifying.
it's beyond terrifying.
Yeah.
You're frozen, right? You're frozen because I mean they're saying things to you that you don't know how to comprehend. And I mean, I have a pretty good understanding of the English language, even at 16. I've always been able to read and write really well. I have no idea what you're saying to me. Like when you're asking me something, I don't know what you're saying because it's like slang. It's like ebonics. I don't know what that means. And so the first week I was there, I was by two men, and something snapped inside of me, and I knew like I'm going to be a victim my whole life if I don't do something. And so I ended up stabbing one of the guys in the face with some crude pencils, and that changed the dynamic. In prison, it's all about visuals. It's all about the image that you put off and how you carry yourself. So the fact that I did that got me recruited by gangs. And I quickly joined gangs because I knew this was going to be the safest way for me to survive.
Right.
But then slowly, out of the desire to protect myself and be safe, I started to become the monster that I was running from. Right? I started to get
Wow.
these tattoos. You're inundated in this life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's violence, it's gang politics, it's bureaucracy, it's prison. And I became that. You at some point you just get lost in your identity, and you put on so many masks that you don't remember which masks are on, and it's just a
Yeah.
survival mode at that point.
Right.
And so for 5 years I was there, and then I was released when I was 21. I maxed out the sentence, and I was given $75 and three condoms, and good luck. And you turned a 21-year-old just train wreck of a human being loose in the world with no oversight. What did you think was going to happen? Right? They count on that. They count on it. The
That you'll
prison
go back into the
industrial
life of
complex,
crime. Yeah,
yeah, the prison industrial complex in the United States is a business. It's
it
a
is.
money system. They count on recidivism. They need recidivism because it keeps your institutions open. Institutions are a business. It's like a store. If you don't have customers, your store gets shut down. So they keep people incarcerated. We see that overwhelmingly in our people of color, right? The young
Yep.
black man that goes to prison for 60 years, and the same thing for a white man gets 5. It's
Yes.
it's it's appalling. So I was out for 20 months. I accomplished wonderful things like getting 2 women pregnant, accumulating 15 more felonies, and back to prison when I was 23, right in plan with the government's recidivism statistic, right?
Yeah.
And so going back into that, about 4 years into that, I got into a very violent altercation and was given 5 years in solitary confinement,
Mm.
where I met my mentor who changed my life. A Muslim man that locked across the hall from me. Hey, white boy, come talk to me. And so that's the title of my book is Hey, White Boy. This man showed me mercy and love and empathy and forgiveness and kindness. And the dichotomy was so intense because he didn't like me. We were not friends. I was in a gang and he was in a religious gang. He's a Moabite.
Okay.
And so we would not get along, right, under normal circumstances. But here we are at the very end of the rock. There's 30 cells on a block, and I was in cell 214. He's in cell 215, which is at the very end, and you can see halfway out the window. So we were looking at each other like this all the time,
Like half
right?
your face you could see.
Yeah, and
I mean,
yelling out the door. And he changed my life, right?
and
And
that
and he
solitary confinement where you never were physically with him, just could see half his face for 5 years, and he changed
so
your life. Okay,
I
so is this
manifested
okay, yeah,
I changed my life from that little cell. I was able to change my outward life as well, and I was able to reduce that to 19 months instead of 5 years,
wow.
and all through the power of manifestation, right? And through learning and doing the hard inner work on myself. You gotta read my book. It's
Okay.
absolutely outlines everything. It's pretty incredible. This
So the subtitle
transformation.
is it's "Hey, White Boy," and then "Conversations of Redemption," right? That's
Yeah,
the entire title, and it's your name
indeed.
on the as the author, so we can find it.
Absolutely.
It's Sonny.
It's on
Okay. Sonny
Amazon,
Von Cleveland.
Barnes& and Nobles, Ingram
Okay.
Sparks, anywhere you can find a book, you can find it. Just Google it.
And what do you hope people take away from that? Is it the transformation that you had? Is it the I mean, what is the what if you could say, "I want people to get this from reading this story," what would it be?
I want you to find something in there that you can relate to. I don't believe in telling people how to fix yourself. I can't tell you how to fix yourself. I can show you what I went through. And if there's something in there that can help you, awesome. That's why I tell the story. That's why there's a book written. If you can just find a piece of inspiration in there that can help you apply that to something in your life that may make your life a little bit better, that's the goal. So that's what I would hope someone would take away from it. If not, it's a really good story,
Yeah.
right? And just enjoy the journey.
I'm definitely going to make sure that I read it, but I'm also going to make sure my son reads it
Yeah,
because
there's
you would
been
be,
so really, really good feedback. I mean, we've had therapists that have bought multiple copies and give it to their clients, and that's changed their lives. And counseling centers have bought it and given it to their clients. We just did. I was in Gulfport, Florida, doing um, my Conversations of Redemption documentary tour, and actually got to meet Lisa McVeigh, who lived in Tampa. She was abducted in the 80s by the Tampa serial killer.
yep,
And she was
I remember her name. Mhm.
and she then became sheriff. She escaped and then got the police to come back and bust this guy, and became one of the sheriffs and is now a retired sheriff from Tampa Bay. And she
Wow.
came to the event and spoke at the event with me. We held this big event in Gulfport, Florida, with Mark Sieg, who is a logotherapist from Viktor Frankl's teaching from the Viktor Frankl Institute. And we put this big thing together where we had survivors for the first time ever telling their stories. They've read my book and they're like, I need to meet this man. And we made this happen. And then for the first time, this girl's sharing her story in front of an audience. And it's inspiring. There's tears. There's, ah, that
Yeah.
is that is my hope for what this book can do, is that it
Mhm.
inspires somebody else to be able to heal, to find that courage to walk through a path just by reading my story, my journey.
Yeah. And that is the I think the redemption that we all seek is really redemption from the pain. And how you do
Sure,
that is by, first of all, it takes some courage to use this instrument, your voice.
sure.
But that is the first step of taking back your power. When you first started
Yeah,
telling the story and you're crying and you're shaking and but all of that is a release also. It's also healing. Tears are
sure. And
scientifically
we
proven
have
to help regulate you.
Hi, I'm Michaela, and I'm part of the team at the Jan Broberg Foundation, and I want to tell you about something we built called the Survivor Circle. So, the Survivor Circle is a free online community for anyone who has been through trauma or abuse. And it's somewhere you can actually exhale with no pressure, no judgment. It's just people who get it. When you join, you'll meet our community mascot, Dottie and Spotty, and you'll get a warm welcome, a walkthrough of our guidelines, and find your shared ground for sharing. We host circle meetings regularly, round robin and speaker style, and you can share whenever you feel ready. There's also the TIME program, which stands for Trauma, Interrupted, Mitigated, and Expressed. So it's a peer-led 12-phase recovery framework, plus workshops, guests, and of course, first looks at everything coming from the podcast and JVF. So, this program was built because too many survivors are out there carrying something heavy with nowhere safe to put it down. And I know that feeling personally because I am a survivor. I may not be ready to share my full story yet, but honestly, that's exactly why the Survivor Circle matters so much to me. Because I don't have to have the words yet, I just have to show up. If any of this sounds like you, please come. Not when you're ready, not when you have the words. Now. Because you've carried this long enough and you don't have to carry it alone anymore. Please join us free at circle.janbrobergfoundation.org or just tap the link in the show notes. I really hope to see you there.
we have so many examples of it, not just in trauma, but look at every musician that's ever been
Mhm.
will tell you how terrifying it is to get up there and use your voice. So we're not alone, just as abuse
Right.
survivors. Using your voice, period, is a scary thing. Stepping in front of somebody else and putting yourself in an uncomfortable scenario and using your voice, it's scary.
Yeah.
But every single person that's ever done it will tell you it's the greatest move they've ever made. There's not one person I've ever found, not saying they don't exist, not one person that's ever been like, I spoke up, I used my voice, and I regret it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very rare. I mean, once in a while you hear that, but I think it's only because
I've
when
never
they
heard it.
use their voice, I have one person that I can think of that told me that, and I said, "But is it really because you spoke up and shared your story, or is it because nothing happened? Nothing happened to the perpetrator." And that's so disappointing sometimes
Sure,
when
but
you've tried, but
that
I
that
and as
shouldn't
we
that
talked, it
shouldn't
was like,
develop
no.
your disbelief in the power of your voice, right?
Exactly, and that was kind of what we came to as we talked through that very thing because I was so shocked, and I was like, "I've
To me,
never heard
that's just
anybody
another
say that."
opportunity to teach, right? To
Yeah,
be like, listen, it doesn't always end with the bad guy getting caught.
hardly
I
ever.
don't use my voice for the bad guy to get caught. Fun fact, like 5 of my abusers have never been in trouble. Never,
Wow.
still to this day, have never gotten caught or been in trouble. I don't do it to get somebody in trouble. I do it to help people heal.
Yeah.
When we put ourselves in that mindset and the position, I'm not doing this for retribution. I
Mhm,
forgave them a long time ago. I'm
mhm.
doing this to help people heal. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it for the bad guy. I'm doing it for the good guy. I'm doing it for the people that need it.
Right, and that to me is where the biggest, empty void has been. It's
Yeah.
really gotta be about those who have survived and who are trying to move forward. That's what I want is for people to be able to accelerate that process so their life isn't a mess for the next 30 years or
Uh,
40 years, because it
it
can be when you
well, sure,
don't
and
mitigate trauma
they
and you
have
don't.
to when we're able to look at it from a broader perspective, I think it makes the healing process a lot easier. Uh,
Mhm.
as someone who has been victimized and abused, I don't want that for anybody else, and
Right.
so that also empowers me to face that fear. There's It's the fastest growing crime in the world
Yep.
right now
Yep.
is human trafficking and exploitation. 20,000 pieces of content are generated every 30 days. There's 300 million pieces of abuse material that are generated and disseminated every year.
300 million
Think
pieces.
about that.
It's
300
gross.
million pieces.
It's just
How many
horrific.
victims is that? Right? And
Well,
talking about, the talking doesn't do much, right? It might inspire people, but we need action.
yes.
These are kids that are actually suffering. They're not in Mexico. They're not in Asia.
They're
They're
right
right
here.
here in your backyard.
Yep.
In your neighborhood, in every city in the United States, it's happening,
Yep.
right? So that's
Yep.
why I've joined in with Operation Lightshine.
That was my next
And
question. Perfect.
Oh, man,
Talk about
listen,
them.
I can't get into this without getting into that. I just can't
Right.
shut up about it. Oh, it's important.
Yeah. So talk about Operation Lightshine because I think it's such a great partnership and it's one that I've thought, I wonder if I could reach out and I could, because I want to have a Partridge Family bus, like what you're doing with this redemption tour across with your documentary and all your stories and going on this tour across the country. I want to do something similar. And this came from my sister's brain. She's
Yeah.
like, let's get a Partridge Family bus and we'll paint it and it'll be like the we're on the road to healing and we'll go to every university campus and we'll get all the people that never told their story and they can come and they can tell it in a myriad of ways and we can do all these cool things and that's where it starts with these young people who if we can get them to raise their voices faster than we did, faster than I did, even though I was talking about it in my 30s, I wasn't ready to do what I'm ready to do now,
Right.
it would change things. It could maybe actually the dominoes could start standing up again because they are just trickling down. I mean, not even trickling, they're just smashing to the ground as fast as we can stack them up. Kids are getting exploited, traffic abused, and
Yeah.
we're not
Well,
making a
it's
dent.
because it's the white van has become this.
Oh, yeah.
This is the white van,
Yeah, your
right?
phone.
Where
Yeah.
the accessibility to children is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's unrestrained. We're even seeing mothers that are traumatizing their own children.
Oh, yes, I've had
Right?
stories on here about
Yeah.
mothers and fathers trafficking their own child.
Well,
Yes,
that happens
all
so
the
much.
time. Yeah.
But so Operation Lightshine is a nonprofit organization that we build what's called an intercept task force. It's where we We find a building and we build federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. They come together and we fund the salaries of these officers. And we provide them with technology and software that is needed to battle these types of things. What people don't realize is that on the other side of this battle, there's another human being that is sitting down watching the 350 million pieces of content. There's a human being who had a dream of being a police officer and making a difference in the world that got assigned to the child abuse section. And now their job is to come in, clock in, and sit down and start watching kids be all day. Because the goal is to find something in that video or that picture that identifies the abuser or the victim so that we
Where
can
they are.
find them. That caseload is so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Most officers don't want to touch it, so they do anything they can to avoid it. And the ones that do it are so overwhelmed because there's just so much. They don't have the resources to do it. And the government is not helping much. The government gives $40 billion a year to the counter drug fight, and they give $200 million with an M a year to child exploitation and trafficking prevention.
And it's back assward. It's totally backward. If you
The
could,
number is appalling.
it's
But the only
awful.
conclusion is the government has to have those victims. If you don't have those victims, because those victims grow up to become the $40 billion problem. And so if the government doesn't have these drug addicts, these alcoholics, these criminals, these abusers, these offenders, they don't have a reason to write a new bill that requires $40 billion.
See,
So
this is my language.
they
because this
allow
is what
the problem to happen so that they can write these bills. Operation Lightshine is privately funded, goes in and builds these intercept task forces and funds these officers' salaries to say, we're going to pay for that officer. Don't worry about it. And we come in and we allow them to all come together as one task force to put all their skills and technology together. And if you lack it, we pay for it. We'll buy the technology. We build the $50,000 supercomputer that they need to go through this. You know, there's been kids saved from bird chirps, from identifying sunlight, from a TV remote, seeing it, and you can pull the serial numbers and find out what store that was bought in. These kids are being saved by this technology. And the men and women that are doing this, the vicarious trauma that they're taking on is unfair, to say the least.
Yeah.
And so many people don't want to hear it. They might not believe that it happens. They think that trafficking is something that happens in Mexico or Asia. They don't believe it's happening here. Some of them get uncomfortable. I don't want to hear about this. This is uncomfortable. What do you think that 10-month-old is feeling? Do you think that 10-month-old is comfortable? Right?
Yeah.
If it makes you uncomfortable, don't just watch this video. Do something. Do something about it. You can push a button. You do this 50,000 times a day. Go to Operation Lightshine and share a video, comment, share a post. That could save a life. If your thumb movement is not worth saving somebody's life, you need to talk to Jesus, man, because not everybody can donate. Not everybody can donate money. I get that. Times are tough, man. The pocketbook is hard. But you share all kinds. You'll share the meme of the kid getting bullied at school, or the street fight that you saw on that, or the meme making fun of Joe Biden, or the fat kid meme, or a Charlie Kirk meme. You'll share any of those, but you won't take the time out to share something that could save a child's life. Come on. We got to be better as people. We have to be better as people. It's on us to do it. The government's not going to do it. But people are so divided between religion and politics that they can't get past it. If we can just zoom in just a little bit more, put God in politics and zoom out of it, nobody agrees that a 5-year-old should be.
No, and nobody believes it should be put on video for someone's entertainment.
Facts.
You know, nobody, a 5, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 15-month-old. I mean, these are real things. These are 350 pieces of actual entertainment type of things that somebody's paying for. The biggest industry, the fastest growing industry
in the world.
Right, in the world.
And do some research. Last year, Operation Lightshine took down the largest dark web forum in the world. It was called Child's Play. And it was ran right in their backyard in Franklin, Tennessee by a guy named Benjamin Faulkner, who went by a code name Warhead. There's a podcast called Hunting Warhead. Highly advise you take a few hours and listen to it. His partner was Patrick Fulty, who lived in Toronto, and they may be backwards. Those two men, they had a forum with over 1 million registered users. You don't accidentally click on this website. This is the dark web. If you're here, you fought to get there. You fought to get into this forum because they're very strict with who they allow in. They have code words and everything. They tracked it to a server in Sydney, Australia, and busted these guys. Over 1 million users. Do you know how many children that is being abused around the world?
It's just.
And you've got these men and women, these agents that investigate these things are literally killing themselves. They drink themselves to death. They are stuck in depression. You didn't sign up to become a police officer to watch a 10-month-old be raped by 3 men.
Oh, it's just so.
And yet you watch it. You have to watch it. It's your job. And now you refuse to quit because you're saving a life.
Yeah.
Right? And these men and women, they drink themselves to death. It's so, God damn it. Do something. Do something.
Absolutely.
Right? For you, share, hit the freaking share button. Imagine how much you waste every month in Starbucks. You could save a kid's life for that.
So you go to operationlightshine.org.
Operate.org.
Right.
The first thing you're going to find is a donate button. There's a thing we have called a Guardian program. You can become a Guardian for $40 a month. You get a patch. And you become a Guardian for $60 a month. You can get both patches and do even more good in the world. But also, just follow. Go follow on
them
Instagram
and share what they want, what needs shared, so that the pictures,
people don't realize
we've
had a kid be saved because someone shared a post and the other person saw it and said, "I know a kid that's going through this." Contacted and said, "This guy is doing this to this child," and that child was saved because this person shared the post. That's the power of a share. Hit the share button. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. But most people want to block it out because they don't. It shines a light on your humanity.
Yeah,
it shines a light on your humanity. Sure, 100%.
Yeah. Let's just pretend it's not happening, and that way we can go on with our daily life and
live in our bubble.
Live in the bubble. And the problem is that until we talk about our own stories, like you said, like you're talking about, I don't know, you talk about cancer or you talk about, other problems in the world, when we start to talk about our
the
own
same
story,
person that doesn't want to hear about that child being abused is the same person that will go on Facebook and complain about the homeless man that you just saw standing in front of the store you like to go to. Do you know what that homeless man's been through?
Right.
Do you know that homeless man's life story?
Right. And the same thing
that
for
child
an
you're
addict.
refusing to save becomes that homeless guy.
Exactly. And that's what I have always said. I said, if we would fund, these are my words too. I mean, you're talking my language. If we would fund the right things, if we would get to the heart of the matter, which is abuse, we wouldn't have cutters and anorexics and drug addicts and alcoholics and exploit people that are in prostitution. All the things, the homeless population, all the mental illness is almost always attached to what happened when you were a child, a tween, a teen, before you had your brain developed at 26, which is now arrested development once you're abused. So now it's not going to develop naturally no matter what until we talk about it, get it out, help the victims and the survivors make it through. That's the thing. 40 billion
we're more
200
concerned
million?
we're more concerned with complaining about Donald Trump or how you see God or who you sleep with in your bedroom or how you dress and how you identify. We're so worried about other people.
Right.
That we don't, but let's worry about the right other people.
Yeah.
How about we start worrying about the kids?
Those that
are going through this because they're going to run this world when we're so old that we can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Right?
I
and
totally
we need to
agree.
put them in a position that they are educated, understanding, kind, passionate. It starts with love and kindness.
Yes,
Love, kindness, and compassion are the magic formula for this lifetime. If you can just look at somebody that you think that you dislike or you detest or you hate and just peel back a few years off their life and see them as an innocent child. Imagine what that person has been through. Think about what you've been through. How would you want someone to perceive you? It's called empathy. Right? And we all have the ability to do it, unless you're like a sociopathic narcissist, which happens. There are those that exist, but they're the exception. Kindness, empathy, compassion, love. Do it. Magic
That's
sauce.
That's the magic sauce. I totally agree. And getting to the heart of the matter is getting to where the abuse started. You would not have been in prison had you not been being by, what was it, 7 different people once your
Or
mother
maybe I
told you
would
it
have.
all?
Maybe I
Or
would
maybe
have.
you would have.
We don't know. All right.
I guess we don't. But
And
I
it's
do believe that the majority of people who are there and again, you highlighted a little bit about that unfairness of, if you're white, you get this many years, and if you're black, you get this many years, and it's
appalling.
terrible and it's appalling, and you've witnessed it firsthand and you've been there firsthand. Tell me about your
That
mom.
that oh
I
that
just
that's
need to
that
know
woman.
that woman, because she's the one that ended up saying, but there was also these other abusers. Did she know and was too afraid to say anything? Tell me about that.
I think she's still too afraid to say anything. I don't know. I've recently blocked my mother completely from my life now.
Okay.
I've given her a pass most of my life.
Yeah.
Because I've just did the best you could. And, as a single mom with 2 badass kids that were being abused and getting in trouble all the time, you did the best you could. But did you? Did you?
Right.
I got to talking with some therapists, and I've made a lot of connections with a lot of educated people in my life now going forward in what I do. And it's opened up a lot of insightful thoughts and doors. My mother was a drug addict. My mother was an alcoholic. My mother was also an abused woman herself, right? She'd been
Yep.
in her life and molested. And this also goes to the fact that just because you've been molested, don't turn you into a pedophile. Those people don't,
No.
pedophiles aren't a product of what's happened to them. It's a proclivity that was inherently in them. I've never been attracted to, nor touched or abused a child in my life.
Right.
And it's happened to me over 500 times. So we can nix that theory in the butt. But the people that abused me, some of them were my mother's dealers. Some of them were my mother's drug friends that did drugs with her. So putting those two, my mother's also a very guilt-ridden old lady that will never admit to it because she is so ridden with shame that she couldn't bear the thought of me knowing, even though I already know, that you were complicit, that you turned your head. I don't think my mother paraded me around and said, "Here, come, my boy." I think she turned her head, which is trafficking as well. Like knowing that this is happening, but let me go over here and get high. I just don't even know what's going on over there. That's trafficking. You're trafficking your
Yes.
child. And
Yeah.
there's just no circumstance
Complicit.
on this earth that's going to make me believe otherwise. Like my mother trafficked me. And
Yeah.
so, my mother was very stern. She was very hard. My mother's Gen X and raised me very Gen X, uh, you know, ass whoopings and hose water, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the way we were raised. And in a sense, I think that some of that missing is a disservice to people these days. I do believe a good ass whooping corrected behavior. There's a reason why we don't grab fire because it hurts. Pain is the greatest teacher in the world. It's even biblical. Spare the rod, spoil the child. I think a good ass
Well,
whooping can
yeah,
really help.
I don't think you need to have that kind of punishment if you have the right kind of parenting like I did with parents who talk to me
Facts.
and my sisters every day.
If you have a kind, caring, stern parent, then the ass whooping doesn't have to come in.
Right.
It's
It just
it's
it wasn't needed.
even the preacher's daughter sometimes goes astray, regardless of how good of a parent they are.
Right.
And my that was my mom, right?
Yeah.
She was kind, loving, and violent
Yeah.
all at
Wow.
the
It's
same time,
so
right?
what a
And
mix. So
it is a
confusing.
mix. It's a very mentally abusive dichotomy to grow up in.
Yeah.
Um, and thankfully, of all the abuse that happened to me really resolved me to be strong mentally. And and thankfully, my kids will never have to go through that. My kids have never been spanked, slapped, punched, hit, kicked,
Right.
abused, none of that. And I wasn't even in my 2 oldest sons. I wasn't in their life for 12 years. But thankfully, their mothers were very protective as well. And neither of my kids
Yeah.
have had to endure those things. And I have a 7-year-old in Ohio now, and his mother for all of her shortcomings as a human being, is super protective, and he'll
Yeah.
never experience that either. And all my kids know that we have an open dialogue, and I think that's, as a parent, that's one of the most important things, is to communicate with your child.
Yeah.
Create an environment where that child feels safe to talk to you, to
Yes.
tell you what's happening. And sometimes it takes a little encouragement. No matter how safe and secure they feel, they're still not really going to want to talk to you about being touched. So you
Right.
have to look for the signs. Like,
Yep.
kids aren't inherently evil. So if
No.
your kid is abusing somebody else, if he's a bully, if he or she is acting out and doing things, there's
Yeah.
generally a cause for that. It's not experimental behavior is normal. A kid will
Right.
steal a candy bar from a store. That's not necessarily a sign of abuse, right?
Right.
It's just curiosity and part of life experience. But
Yeah.
for a child to break into a store and rob the store,
That's not the same.
that's not curiosity.
No.
That's something a little bit different. And
Something's happening to
right.
that
And
kid.
so then you have to, instead of coming in and, oh, I can't believe you did this. What's wrong with you? That type of accusatory attack is going to make that kid regress into a shell and feel that they don't trust you enough to tell you.
Right.
And one of the biggest things I think in my life is when the kid says, I don't know, they're telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Right? Like, as a kid, when I'm being abused, my mother would be whipping me. Why did you do? I don't know why I did. Oh, you know, Pop. I regressed it. It's out of my brain. I don't know why I'm doing the things that I do. I just know that something's happening to me, and I'm not smart enough in my young years to correlate the abuse to the
No.
behavior. And so I
Exactly.
need you to sit me down and create an environment where I feel comfortable and safe and confident in telling you, I don't know why I'm doing this behavior, but something's happening to me in my life that I'm not comfortable with. And that can change a kid's life, right?
Yes, that can. If we could even, even help the parents, good parents that just sometimes don't know what signs to look for. In my foundation, we have something called Spot 6, and our whole goal in that program is to help people spot the 6 stages of grooming. And as a companion to that, we want people to go, here are 6, 10, 12 things that if your child is exhibiting X, Y, and Z of these kinds of behaviors, something's wrong. It's
Sure.
not meant to lock them in a room and
Sure.
make them go without their dinner.
Sure.
No,
What does
it's
that
you
serve?
need to talk
Doesn't do
to them.
anything.
Right.
That doesn't do. You know what? If you're a parent, be a parent.
Yes.
Stop giving your kids phones. And if
Yeah.
you do give them a phone to communicate, control it. My
Yes.
son has my 7-year-old has a Nintendo Switch, which is open to the world. A Nintendo Switch is a gateway for pedophiles and predators. I control that Nintendo Switch from California. I'm
Yeah.
on there. I know who his friends are. I know who has access on that. I've got everything on it. His mother knows everything about it. There's parental locks. I have a 16-year-old who volunteers at my cat cafe. His dads have this kid can't even get on Google without
Yeah.
dad approving it from his phone. There are so many measures you can take. You just have to not be lazy as a parent.
Yes.
Care enough about your child's well-being to be preventative.
Yeah.
It's easy. With all the technology is also all of the security that comes with it. It's there. You just have to
Right.
be a parent that is involved.
Yeah, involved and actually takes the time to do those things and creates the environment so that when you sit down, when you know something's off, when you feel it also often in your gut, and don't ignore it. Feel it.
Yeah.
Then you've
Yeah.
created an environment that, like you said, they may not be forthcoming because it's uncomfortable to talk about somebody that's touching you or has made advances and you don't even know the words, especially if you're 7.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're going to be able to be a match in
Yeah.
somebody that's 25 or 35 or 50. They won't be able to tell you, especially if it's someone close to them, which it usually is.
Yeah. And you gotta just be preventative, right? It can be prevented so easy, right? Just don't let the world have access to your children.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
and they don't have to grow up in a closet to do that. You don't. They
Right.
can still enjoy video games and technology. And I fully believe in allowing a kid to explore through video games. Video games have gotten to a point where it teaches you now motor skills and critical thinking skills and adaptability. And so I agree with that. But monitor what they're doing, who they're
Yes.
interacting with. That's not hard. It's not difficult. I heard one parent say, "Oh, but he screams so much if we take the video games away, and he gets in such an attitude." Would you rather deal with your kid screaming because he lost his video game or crying because he's been?
Yeah.
What
It's
would you
it's
rather
an
have?
easy choice when
I will
you really
easily
break it
deal with the
down.
kid that's pissed off about the video game. Guess what? You'll get over it.
Yep.
Or let's compromise, and I am going to oversee your involvement on this video game platform, and you can have the video game. It's a
Yeah.
compromise, right? And it teaches kids compromise, trust, right? It's
Well,
not
and it
hard to
also
be a good parent, right?
right, and they will, even if they don't know it in that moment or whatever, long term, they will thank you. They
They will
truly will,
absolutely
I
thank you.
promise.
They will
They will.
absolutely thank you.
So I wanna know a little more before we, kind of wrap up. Tell us more about the Conversations of Redemption tour and this documentary that is
Yeah.
forthcoming. Tell us more
Yes.
about all that because it's
So
very, very,
it's it
exciting.
it really started in, April. My wife and I took a cruise and vacation to Europe. My first time ever being abroad. My wife is just this immaculate creature that has been all over the world, and she's such a acknowledged individual because of her travels. And I something that I really encourage kids to do when you hit that 18, 19, 20-year mark, put everything on hold, put a backpack on your back, and go travel Europe for a year.
Yeah.
Just do it, but have enough money to buy the plane ticket and go
Yeah.
figure it out from there, because you're going to discover there's thousands of them out there. You're not the only one doing it. And most of those businesses in the south of France and Spain and England and all those places, they see it all the time, and they're more than willing to help out. Like, here, come wash my dishes in my restaurant and we'll feed you. Here's a
Right.
hostel. But you're putting yourself out to see the way the world lives in that
Mhm.
culture will give you so much perspective.
Mm.
So when we're in Europe, my wife she has this thing where she says, you need to go do something really big when we get back, but you got to do it by yourself. You can do it
Mm.
I've never done anything on my own in my life. I've, raised up abused, 18 years in prison, into a failed marriage, into a hostile, toxic relationship, straight into a new marriage. Um,
Right.
and she's like, "You've never done anything on your own. You got to do something big." And so I was going to be like, "Okay, I'm a content creator. I'm really comfortable on camera. I love to create. I've been teaching myself video editing and all these wonderful things because I'm a very creative guy."
Mhm.
So I was going to let's go find the 12 happiest cities in the United States and go talk to these people and find out, in this tumultuous time that we live in, what makes you so happy living in this country. I think 8 of those 12 cities are here in California, on the California coast.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, right? If you're
Mhm.
living on the California coast, you almost can't help but be happy. It's
It's
just the
true.
it's conducive to happiness.
That's where my son is, and he's like, "I
But
gotta get back
I'm
to
thinking
California."
so I got to thinking to myself, well, that's just a road trip up the coast, right?
Yeah.
I live in the desert here in Palm Springs. I'm like, that's just a road trip. It's not much. So I was like, what if I went around the country talking to people about pain and trauma and how they've healed?
Mhm.
Conversations of redemption. And my wife and we met on a podcast,
Yeah.
February 22nd of 2021. I was like, well, let's do 22 cities. 22 cities, finding people. All right, let's do that. It's like, that'll take what, a few weeks? Yeah, nope, not so much. To go
Yeah.
to, and I'm this guy, I'm very ADHD, probably borderline autistic, and just whatever. I'm like a monster truck with a Ferrari engine that runs on dial-up internet, right? And so I got the idea. Ooh, I'm going to go to 22 cities around the country. Hey, here's a post. I'm going to go to 22 cities around the United States and talk to people. So I put it out. Now I have to do it. Awesome. That's fun. Uh, well, it's going to take more than a couple weeks to go to 22 cities.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get there, and it's way too expensive to fly. So you're going to have to drive.
Yeah.
Fun. Okay. Well, it takes, 4 days to get across Texas. So we're like, oh my God, this is going to take me forever. But what a magical experience. It took me and my cameras and just went across the country to several cities, sat down, just having inspiring conversations with people to talk about trauma, to show the country you're not alone. Everybody experiences it on various levels. Some people were abused, some people just lost loved ones. I got a guy in Virginia whose brother was killed by a drunk driver in a car on the one night that they switched seats. They always ride in the same seats. And for today, for some reason, I decided to switch seats. We got hit by a truck. And this guy has been living with the guilt that his brother died because they switched seats.
Yeah.
Like, trauma exists everywhere. And fun fact, it was in the city of Marshall where an entire football team died in a plane accident. So the city knows about trauma, right? Going to New Orleans, that they're still reeling from Katrina. Gulfport, that was hit by Hurricane Helene and Milton, to all these different places, and seeing trauma and how people have healed, to give people hope. And so that's my goal for this documentary, is to show healing is possible. No matter where you're at, no matter what you've been through, here's examples of it. You deserve to heal.
Yeah. Oh, I just love it. I want to get my Partridge Family bus because, as I was talking about earlier, I want the big speaker on the top. And as you roll into a town, it plays, hello world, there's a song that we're singing. Wow. Come on, get happy. Because that's what I want. I want people to get happy. I want them to have.
Just go
And
do
not
it.
that
Right?
every moment is going to be that way, and rainbows and unicorns, but they do exist. Rainbows do, and there are.
100%. Create it.
Yes, you can create it. You can
At any moment, you have the ability to change your life at any moment, because the next 10 minutes of your life are dictated by you.
Yep.
Yesterday is a memory and tomorrow is a hope. Today is what you control.
Yeah, the present right now.
That's it.
Listen to a little Eckhart Tolle. Just put it on, even if you don't understand it. Just let it put you to sleep. Just get into, I get to choose right now, right this minute.
Right now.
Right now. I just love you. I can't wait to, I don't know, team up. I'm just like, this is exactly what I have wanted to bring in that trauma interrupted conversation. How do you interrupt it? How do you mitigate it? How do you express it so that you can move past it and into the beautiful world that is your life and that you create and is waiting for you, and you get to do it on purpose.
Very doable. Purpose. Everybody can. I don't have any special powers nobody else has. So you can do it too. Anybody can do it. If you're listening, you can do it. Just choose it. Choose to do it. I have to go. I have a 12 o'clock.
No, I'm just thrilled that we had this conversation. I was about to wrap it up and just say, give us how people can get in touch with you. Anything we didn't talk about that we want everybody to hear, we'll put in the notes.
Yes. Google me. Google Sonny Von Cleveland. Follow the links. Tap them all. Follow me anywhere. Share a post. Add me on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook. Twitter or X, whatever it's called, LinkedIn. It's about sharing this message, right? The more we share this message, the more lives we can save, and every life is worth saving.
It sure is.
Check out my book, Hey White Boy, Conversations of Redemption. It's available anywhere books are sold.
Thank you so much, Sonny, for being my friend and my guest, and for giving me even a lift today. Like, I can even have more happiness. Sonny said no.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Hey, everyone. My name is Austin Tanner, and I'm Jan's son and the executive producer of this podcast. On behalf of our whole team, we want to thank you for listening to our show today. These conversations are not always easy, and we don't take it lightly that you stayed with us all the way through. Everything you heard today can be found in our show notes. You'll find links to our website, janbrobergfoundation.org, our newsletter, and how to join our free online community, The Survivor Circle. This is where the work continues between episodes, and we hope to see you there. Thank you so much for listening today and for being part of our survivor-led movement. Until next time, over and out on 2.